thinking about like our last visit to our classroom, it seemed, you know, it was a solid lesson, but it seemed like it was, you know, pretty straightforward stuff. And right now I feel like what I would like to just kind of probe a little more is see if like we can take it like to a completely different level. Right now I feel like Danielle is doing solid teaching. She's getting really, you know, solid results of what she's doing right now. But I guess the question that I want to get more information on, to have like a really productive conversation with her, is like, talk to me about the type of assessments you're giving, and talk to me about what you're asking the students to do. Because right now they are mastering material, you know, fantastically. But that's what's in my head, you know, foremost. It's like just, that's a piece of information that I want to really be able to guide like the next step that I do with her. Because based on this information, like the growth from DRA and because that's, you know, phenomenal. The growth from DRA and the math mastery, I mean, that's really phenomenal. And so to move forward with her, I think it's got to be about rigor and making sure that what she's, you know, asking her kids to do is like putting them on a like completely different track is what I see based on the data. Other than that, I can't pull out any other trend except that like it's consistent mastery. There are Ezekiel and Dontavius who are seem to be struggling a little bit.
And I think, and by the way, Dontavius struggled a little bit with ELA, but you know he was the lowest student in math in ELA. So if anything, I definitely want to find some time to find him this morning when we're in the classroom. But you're right. I mean, across the board, everyone else in this class is mastering the material. They all have at least 0.75 years of growth on the DRA, except for Zana, who was mastering the material in math and in ELA. So I think it does bring me back to just the question of like, I'm glad that the data overall corroborates individual pieces of our story. So like, they're doing well in ELA, they're doing well in the DRA, that would make sense. They're doing well in math, you know. But I do have a question around like, especially since we can't look at an assessment example, just what is the next level? Even if the current level of rigor is at the you know, like she's basically asking them to meet the standards.
Right.
Which, from what I remember being in her classroom last semester, like when she would put up the standard like on the board and then she would have them do a word problem or whatever, like it was she was basically asking them to do the standard. So they're mashing the material at the level of the standard.
Right, it's aligned.
I think the thing, you're right, I think the thing to look for is where is she pushing rigor in this classroom. Like I'm very interested in seeing that come to bear and seeing how that plays out for Ezekiel and Dontavius specifically in math, because they're our two lowest students, but they're still, I mean, they're at 72%. So it's not like, you know, they're not mastery based. One other cool thing that I did notice when I was looking through here, and I don't know if you saw this, but in her ELA tracking, so she apparently like does a series of quizzes and stuff like that before she does the unit test a month later, and like in all of the series of quizzes by the test, mastery had increased from the 70s to like 85%. You know, and I'm just looking at like, she's obviously doing some kind of reteaching or reassessing or something like that throughout the semester to ensure that our students get to our mastery goals. And I think that sort of makes me wonder, like, okay, cool, she clearly is using her data for something right now. How can we even push her to use her data to start to like differentiate the level of rigor that our students are receiving, to, you know, to push our practice even further? She's clearly using her data. She knows, okay, they're not at where I wanted them to be by the end of this quiz. When they get to this unit test, the mastery is increasing even more. I'm just interested in seeing what is changing in her practice and how she's using her data to shift changes. So we have a couple of questions going into this observation this morning. I think our central theory here is we know she's doing well. Like, her students are mastering the material. She's a SIG Gains teacher right now. In terms of like, her students are at 80% mastery in math and ELA, and they've had their class averages over, for the DRA, what was their class average is 0.81, right, which is for a whole class average is on track with the SIG gains category. So she's clearly a phenomenal teacher right now. And from what we saw in our classroom last semester, we believe that she was teaching our students at the level, at like the basic level of the standard, basically. So she was asking them to do what the standard was asking them to do. And so it seems like we want to focus in on, is rigor going to be a thing that's going to push her practice forward? Where can we see evidence of where rigor potentially is lacking in the way she's instructing this morning when we see her math lesson? And particularly, how does rigor play out with her two lowest math students? Who are they? Dontavius and Ezekiel. Is there anything else that we want to look for this morning?
So I have this picture here of this ELA tracker, and I know we discussed in my program team about tracking this way for ELA in terms of, like, this is like CRCT ELA mastery. Like, can you answer it in multiple choice format?
Yeah.
So my curiosity is around writing.
Yeah.
And I know 4th grade is
do they take a writing test in 4th grade? 3rd and 5th grade is a writing test. I don't know if they do it in 4th grade, but they have to get ready for it anyways. Yeah.
So I see her assessing it this way, which is, you know, it's a way to assess it that's in line with the CRCT. But I would love to see, like, what has their progression been in writing? And has she applied the same type of efforts in, like, looking at data in terms of writing? Because that's the only thing that I see that is something that she could begin to do right now, and use data in the same ways that she's obviously doing very effectively to also apply to that area. So I would love to see how this 82.9%, you know, grammar mastery, if you will, is playing out in their actual pieces of writing.
So 3 things that I have that we're going to get out of this observation. We're going to get evidence of rigor with our assessments and our instruction for math. And we're going to find that by doing a couple of things. You know, just the way that she's instructing, the kind of questions that she's asking. Probably, hopefully, we can see the independent practice or the exit ticket. Like, grab one of those. That'll give us some evidence of what the level of rigor looks like for math assessments and instruction. If we can, find some writing samples in the classroom around the wall, because we want to get some evidence of rigor with writing, because it might be something we want to revisit in another conversation with her. And then we want to try to find some time with Dontavius and Ezekiel, because those are her 2 outliers. Everyone else is, like, significantly above mastery, and these 2 are, Dontavius is not mastering the math material currently, or the ELA material, and both of them are, like, right on the cusp of not mastering the math material. So those are our 3 big things that we're looking for this morning, and that's what we'll spend our time doing when we're in the classroom. When we come out of the classroom, I want to just do a quick debrief about what we saw, how we gathered evidence around these things, and then what this makes you think we would do next with Danielle specifically. And then, you know, the process that we're going through right now to just use her data to figure out where we go and what we look for in the classroom. I will probably want to have a conversation around what lessons can we learn from this process that we're taking right now for a Progress Known Core member to help convince a Progress Unknown Core member about how useful their data can be.
So the lessons from the process we're doing with Danielle and how it can help. Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. To the Batmobile.